Lysander's soft words, like falling leaves, settled over Coralee. The quiet wisdom from his weathered scrolls offered a fragile, nascent hope. A path forward, unburdened. Like and subscribe for more. Coralee felt a tremor, not of fear, but of an unfamiliar stirring within her. As Lysander gestured towards a simple, sun-dappled bench carved from an ancient fallen log at Aegis Point Sanctuary. The air here, within the secluded forest hermitage, hummed with a peace that felt almost alien to her restless spirit. Her mind, usually a tumultuous canvas of half-formed regrets and muted hues, found a momentary, startling quiet. Lysander settled beside her, his frail but steady hands resting lightly on his knees. His piercing, observant eyes held a depth that seemed to understand the very fabric of her unspoken despair. "The mind," Lysander began, his voice a low, melodic drone, "is like a spring. If left untended, it fills with silt, clouding the waters until reflection is impossible. What anchors you, Coralee, is not the silt itself, but the constant turning over of stones you believe might reveal a different riverbed." He paused, letting his words sink in like pebbles in still water. "Tell me," he continued gently, "about the largest stone you keep turning. The one that whispers what if most insistently." Coralee's hands, usually so expressive, were clenched in her lap. She felt a familiar pressure behind her eyes, the weight of the memory mosaic she carried within her. Each shard a fragment of a lost possibility. To articulate it, to give it voice, felt like tearing open an old wound. Yet Lysander's presence was an invitation, not a demand. He didn't press, simply waited, radiating a profound serenity. Her gaze drifted to a patch of moss growing resiliently on a rock nearby, a quiet testament to enduring life. The what if of that specific gallery exhibition, lost opportunity, and subsequent cascade of self-doubt felt like a physical presence in her throat. She had retreated into the artistic disarray of the Whisperbloom studio for years after, the vibrant colors of her life dimmed to a somber palette. The memory of it felt suffocating, yet for the first time Coralee felt an almost imperceptible shift. A tiny crack in the dam she had built around her heart, threatening to release something she hadn't known was still capable of flowing. Coralee took a ragged breath, the what if a tangible knot beneath her ribs, constricting her. "It was the gallery," she whispered, her voice raw, barely audible above the gentle rustle of leaves around Aegis Point Sanctuary. "A collection years ago, pieces I poured myself into, believing they were my truest expression. The curator, a man named Sterling, offered me a solo exhibition. My chance. But then, doubt Lysander." Her gaze fixed on Lysander, whose calm demeanor never wavered, a beacon of stillness. "I let it paralyze me, second-guessed every brushstroke, every pigment choice. By the time I felt ready, truly ready, the slot was gone, filled by someone else." A bitter laugh, devoid of humor, escaped her. "I told myself it wasn't good enough, that I saved myself from public failure. But it felt like ... surrendering. And everything since then, it's just been muted shades of that same regret, coloring every canvas in the Whisperbloom studio." Lysander nodded slowly, his observant eyes reflecting the dappled sunlight as he reached into the pocket of his simple tunic. He produced a small, weathered, hand-bound parchment scroll, one of his Fenn's parables. "Imagine a river, Coralee," he began, unrolling it carefully. "It flows towards the sea, carrying with it fallen leaves, pebbles, the memories of every bank it has touched. If the river obsesses over a single leaf it lost upstream, yearning for its return, it stops flowing, becomes a stagnant pool, its banks crumbling, its journey incomplete." He looked at her gently. "The leaf is gone, the opportunity perhaps. But the river's purpose is not the leaf, it is the journey. It is to flow, to carve new paths, to nourish new life." Coralee listened, the simplicity of the parable striking a chord that resonated deep within her, a clear bell tolling in the quiet of the hermitage. The image of the stagnant river, mirroring her own life confined within the Whisperbloom studio, was stark and undeniable. She had been that river fixated on one lost leaf, allowing it to dictate her entire course. The gallery, Sterling, the lost chance, they weren't anchors. She had merely chosen to tie herself to them. A profound realization bloomed, a fragile, tender thing, not erasing the regret, but reframing it. It was a first subtle shift. The heavy anchor lifting just enough for her to feel the nascent currents of possibility pulling at her spirit. The crushing weight wasn't gone, but it felt, acknowledged, understood, and for the first time in years, Coralee felt a whisper of curiosity about what lay downstream. "But how?" she asked, her voice softer, a newfound vulnerability in her tone. "How do you make the river flow again once it has stopped?" Lysander met her gaze, his eyes ancient and knowing. "The river stops when it clings to what is past," he explained, his voice a soft current itself. To flow again, one must learn to empty. Act 2. Coralee, for every turn teaches the river something new. But to release the grip of every lost leaf, every lodged stone, every memory that becomes a dam. He paused, a gentle challenge in his silence. What if you were to acknowledge each of those burdens, not by holding them tighter, but by giving them their due, then setting them free? He gestured towards the vibrant forest around them, the rich tapestry of greens and browns, ever-changing, ever-renewing. The forest does not mourn every fallen leaf. It allows it to return to the earth, nourishing what is to come. Your past regrets, those what-ifs that bind you, they are not meant to be permanent anchors. They are lessons, perhaps, or echoes, but they must not become your current reality. Lysander then offered a slight smile. Perhaps you might consider an act of emptying, not merely of the mind, but of the hand. An artistic expression of release. The idea settled on Coralee, at first feeling daunting, then intriguing. An act of emptying. To give form to the very things that stifled her, not to preserve them, but to dismantle their hold. She envisioned her memory mosaic back in the Whisperbloom studio, chaotic collection of half-formed ideas and abandoned projects, a testament to her stasis. Lysander wasn't asking her to forget, but to process, to complete a painful cycle. He was inviting her to sculpt her own freedom. How would I even begin to capture something so nebulous? Coralee asked, her expressive hands rising slightly, as if to grasp the air. Not by capturing, Lysander corrected softly, but by understanding its essence. By giving it form, you give yourself the power to release it. Choose one, the most suffocating regret, and then create something to honor its lesson, and then let it go. She sat there, absorbing his words, the quiet wisdom sinking deep. The sun began its slow descent, painting the leaves of Aegis Point Sanctuary in hues of amber and rose. Coralee knew, with a dawning clarity, that her journey to making the river flow again would begin not with a grand gesture, but with a single, deliberate act of creation and release. The cleansed canvas, she thought, a physical representation of her unburdening. If you found this narrative compelling, please consider liking this story and subscribing for more journeys of self-discovery.